Oh, come on, get on with it. Get on with it, do the kissing part. Yep, so you can't breathe. My boobs practically up to my chin. My God. Hi, I'm Kate Winslet, and I am going to watch some scenes from throughout my career. Right, here we go.
Hello, Jack.
Oh, my lordy. This might be really cringe. See, I look at that and I just see how much I couldn't breathe in that bloody corset.
They said you might be up here.
Oh, this was a nightmare, shooting this. Because Leo couldn't stop laughing, and we had to reshoot this about 4 times because the light was, Jim wanted a very specific light for this, obviously, and the sunsets kept changing where we were. This was a section of the ship. It wasn't part of the actual whole ship set that we had. It was a little sort of sawn off bit. We had to climb up a ladder to get to it. I remember it was sort of, hair and makeup couldn't reach us. Now, what you wouldn't know, because Leo looks completely natural, but he had to lie on sunbeds. There's a lot of fake tan makeup going on. So I have got hidden in here and here. I've got his makeup and brushes and sponge, and my makeup and brushes and sponge in the other side. And between takes, I was basically redoing our makeup.
Step up onto the rail. Hold on.
Kept bumping my knees on that third railing. Oh, come on, get on with it. Get on with it, do the kissing part. It's quite funny. Giggling, covered in each other's makeup. Oh my God, it goes on and on and on. Yep, so you can't breathe. My boobs practically up to my chin. My God. He's quite the romancer, isn't he? No wonder every young girl in the world wanted to be kissed by Leonardo DiCaprio. It was not all it's cracked up to be. So we kept doing this kiss, and I have a lot of pale makeup on. And I would have to do our makeup checks, me, on both of us, between takes. And I would end up looking as though I had been sucking a caramel chocolate bar after each take, because his makeup would come up on me. And he just looked like there was a bit missing from his face because there was this big pale bit from all my makeup getting onto him. Oh God, it was such a mess. I do feel very proud of it because I feel that it is that film that just keeps giving. Whole other generations of people are discovering the film or seeing it for the first time. And there's something extraordinary about that. Doesn't mean that people don't get me to try and reenact this every time I'm on a flipping boat, which does my head in.
Oh, really?
Every time, without fail.
And you do it?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Really solid this time of year.
Whoa, I don't know.
Come on. Come on, come on, come on.
I'd forgotten how good I look with the blue hair. I look good with blue hair. They were all wigs, because we had to change them. Sometimes I'd start the day and we'd have a scene where I had orange hair, and then in the afternoon it would be green, and then maybe back to orange before the end of the day. The way that it was scheduled, they had to be wigs. Otherwise we wouldn't have been able to do it. It would have been impossible. Quite a lot of this was improvised. I remember that there just wasn't much dialogue written on the page. So we just added stuff. It was extremely cold. Just all of the stuff about the ice, slidey, it's not going to break, it's so thick this time of year. All of that's all improvised and added. And him saying, oh no, I think I should go back. It was mostly improvised, actually.
I think I should go back. Huh?
Come on.
What if it breaks?
With Eternal Sunshine, everything about it was not what I expected it to look like, because Michel Gondry is such an avant-garde director and he's very experimental, and none of us could have ever known how the film was going to look, what it was going to feel like, how it was all going to come together. The shoot was quite bonkers in how experimental it was and fast-paced it was, and things would often happen that weren't part of the plan, or we'd end up shooting in the snow when it wasn't meant to be snowing. I mean, and we would just adapt the scene to whatever was going on that day. Oh, there wasn't any prep for this scene because we didn't know what to expect. We got there and it really was a very thick frozen river. Most of the prep was in just hiding sort of hot packs and layers of thermal clothing underneath our costumes because it was absolutely freezing, and trying not to shiver whilst saying dialogue, trying to relax yourself as much as possible.
Show me which constellations you're in.
This is a scene that does stick out in my mind as being a lot of fun. That particular night shoot was fun. I love doing night shoots, actually. I always sort of feel like I'm going to work and I've got a secret or something. It's a great feeling. I remember thinking, oh God, we're going to be putting a whole film crew on this ice. And no, they'd been monitoring the ice and experts had told us it was safe. But you do hear like a sort of a cracking noise when it's sort of cracking at the very deeper parts. But this was about 14 inches thick. So there was no way it was going to crack.
Come and tell me all about your Christmas presents.
One of our only days where we were all together, of course, on this shoot, because my part of the story takes place in England and separately to the Cameron character's story. Oh, we all just had such a giggle. It was all just great fun. They're all lovely people. And Cameron's whole thing ever in life is, how can I have the most fun possible? So she's constantly laughing. She's constantly joking. And Jack, of course, he just does something different every take, which is eternally refreshing. And for something like this was very, very good, because with romantic comedy, things do have to remain fairly scripted because so much of it is about the comedic timing and how it's shot. And the rhythm and the cadence to everything is quite important. And so there wasn't much room to sort of add things spontaneously, but Jack would always find a way to slip something in. And I was always really grateful for that, especially with something like this where everyone's having to, pretend it's Christmas. So actually Jack was brilliant at kind of adding things, and he was brilliant with those little girls. So that was fun. It kept it fun, which is what it was meant to be. I would love to work with Jack again and again and again. So my on-set nickname to this day is K-Dub. People just call me K-Dub, and he started it. Jack started it, and that is my name. Everyone just calls me at work. Everyone calls me K-Dub. Although I will tell you that all of the interiors of that beautiful English country cottage were studio builds in Los Angeles, which is devastating to everyone who hears that. And the cottage itself, that picture postcard perfect chocolate box jigsaw puzzle cottage, it was just a shell. It was just a facade. It was just the sides, the front, and a roof. And every time I'd go through that door into the cottage, I'd be standing in a bunch of rubble surrounded by scaffolding, old Coke cans thrown on the ground, bits of old chewing gum wrapper. Yeah. I was dreading shooting this scene because the triggers that I created for myself in playing this character and in concealing all of that grief they were just so real for me. And I was absolutely dreading shooting this.
Hanging from one of the beams, he'd gotten a tow rope from the garage.
Oh, fuck. Oh.
I cut him down.
That particular sequence of running into the house, because I hurt my toe and I was limping. So we got that twice, thank God. And then the little piece when we are inside the house, that was a separate time. That was interior studio, actually. The dummy that had been made that was exactly the physicality of the actor who was actually playing Kevin in the flashback sequences. So that it was just awful. And we had a camera up there, obviously looking down at me, because we have that angle, that down angle where I fall, where I sort of collapse. They were just brilliant. They just kept as much to one side as they could, so that I didn't see them at all. I just saw the dummy hanging and the camera itself. I didn't see the operator or the focus puller, which was enormously helpful. And that was filmed about a month after the exterior part of the scene. And then a couple of months later, we shot this part.
I'm so sorry. Do you still live in the same house?
I was almost trying to charge myself up with as many distractions as possible so that when I had to sit and say these words, that I would feel shocked by saying them, and that they would feel fresh in my head, and that it would be something that was springing into my body, I suppose, in the moment that I had to play it out. And it was just awful. It was awful. The emotion of this whole sequence, it was so embedded in me, actually, that I had to just sustain it across the entire time of playing the character, because what had happened to her with her son defines who she is and how she is with people every single day of her life. And so it was the main thrust of the character, really. And as you can see, hard to shake. So what they did, so that they could get the physicality of me climbing up onto her fin and sitting there and putting my hands on something, someone had taken a foam noodle and just bent it in the shape of an eye and zip-tied it onto the metal grill. So that was what I was acting to create that sequence. And I do remember thinking, this is never going to work. I'm sure this is dreadful. And of course it works, because Jim Cameron is a genius. There are moments where I can't see myself at all, and then others when I really can. I think my mouth looks very much like my own mouth. So it's certain expressions Sam makes where I can really see Sam. And Zoe, again, it's her mouth. There's something about her mouth and how she hangs her head is very like Zoe. It was absolutely amazing working with Jim Cameron again. He, I think we're both such different people, really, since Titanic. It's such a long time ago. He just covers everything from a million angles. There are actual cameras there, probably about 22 actual cameras in the room. Then there are rigged cameras in the roof, capturing everything. And so you can be extremely free.
What is it?
The Vernon regime has been defeated. The country is
Obsession with
yours.
finding stuff.
Disregard any news of the country. All services will soon be restored.
Totally improvising like a mad person there. Yeah, I liked this scene a lot. This was great fun. This is at the beginning of episode 6 in the regime, and it's actually my favorite episode of the regime. It's very funny. Sometimes I actually still will fall asleep at night thinking about moments from episode 6 of the regime, and it makes me laugh as I'm falling asleep.
The country is yours. Disregard any news of the country. All services will soon be restored by the Westgate Resistance Army.
So the voice that we ended up settling on for the character of Elena was something that I came up with during the prep period, because I knew that it just didn't make any sense to me to speak in my own voice as I'm speaking now, because it is a satire, it is set in an imagined universe, and there are things about the whole show that are meant to be completely absurd. And so I needed to find a way of creating something for the character that immediately let the audience know that they weren't necessarily supposed to take this seriously.
Fuck them all!
Yeah, there's a moment when I go, cunt! I think that was improvised.
Shut up! Shut up! Nikki!
Oh my God, we improvised so much throughout this. We would just often add things, because sometimes when it's fast-paced dialogue, adding little bits here and there to the beginning or the end of a line, or even in the middle, just does help to keep everything feeling very alive and real. It was a huge amount of fun to play around with comedy, to be with so many actors on set every day. I loved that, being part of a big ensemble. And working with Matthias again. I'd worked with him 11 years ago, and we'd had an amazing experience working together, got on extremely well. He's very playful, really collaborative. So that's it from me. We're done. This torture has finally come to an end. And if I wasn't afraid of breaking something, I would probably throw this remote at that television and smash it, but I won't. I'll just turn it off.